Okay, there we go. I was wondering why the microphone wasn't working. Let me adjust them. Oh, yeah, we'll fix that later. Alright. Hello, everybody. Welcome to something that I haven't done in a very long time. We're going to be playing a visual novel for Valentine's. Welcome to Love, Money, Rock and Roll. Am I coming through okay? Pretty sure this thing's probably drowning me out. Yeah, that'll probably do it. Just another smidgen. That might do it to the master audio. I think that might be good. Alright, am I sounding okay? You're good? Alright. What is the... I mean, it's coming through fine on this screen, so... I'm not gonna mess with it. We'll adjust this on the fly because I have no idea how quick the text speed's going to be. If it's too slow, I'll speed it up for the sake of trying to follow along. But yeah, for those of you who have not seen me play any of the ones that I've done before, usually in the earlier years, I did play a visual novel. I think it was year one, either year 1 or year 2, by the same makers that made this one, Soviet Games. That game was Everlasting Summer, and that actually was a game that I actually really enjoyed. So much that I got it on my iPad and played it some more. Although unfortunately I didn't play it long enough to get the harem ending, sadly. But I've been waiting for this one to come out, and this one had some I don't know if it was Kickstarter, but it had some crowdfunding to it to try and get some milestones, get some better budget and all that stuff. One of the things that I was hoping it would reach was for voice acting. Sadly, it didn't come to pass. But I think everything should be good, so we're going to start a new game. Okay, that's it. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Okay, so this will let me change it even some more if I need to. Set any time. I mean, I would keep it on immersive, so. But I know very little about this visual novel outside of a couple things with usually the production. Definitely much more improved art compared to Everlasting Summer, and the music. I've listened to some of it. They have 2 albums. They call it the Daybreak side and the Midnight side, and some of it's really good. March 4th, 1987. These falling sakura petals. Does anyone really find them beautiful? Does anyone really see a deep meaning in their whirl? Maybe this interplay of color, the purple velvet against the setting sun, does memorize. Back then I must have thought the same as I watched the leaves fall. We're going to speed it up just a little bit. I think it's... let's make it not 100 characters. I think that's better. Maybe too much time has passed. I've forgotten. I've changed. Only the trees are still the same. They don't care. They came into the world before me, and they will yet outlive my descendants. They don't care for the beauty of falling petals, or speed, direction, or angle. It's all the same to them. Why would they bother with such minutia? To them, it's nothing more than a routine change of seasons. To me, though, it's a flood of memories. The tree in front of me is now exactly the same as it was that day. The day when I had to do something. The day when it was too late to do anything. It's the same. The same are the petals too, falling with perfidious indifference. I've never seen that word before. They truly don't care. Somebody get out the dictionary so I know how to pronounce and understand what these new words are. Oh, this music's really kicking in. They don't care if one day a photographer makes an entire exhibition of their images, or if a pair of sweethearts falls in even more deeply in love, enchanted by their ceaseless dance. That's how nature is. That's not how I am. The same as that day, a year ago. The day the petals were falling off the tree as well. Trees as well. Back then, too, nature was lying down. Not dying, no, but falling asleep. to wake up again in spring, this fire of life rekindled. Sitting under this tree, I remember all the joy and all the sadness. Do you really love me? Yes. Truly? Yes. She turned away, while the petals kept falling, getting tangled in her hair and making her look even more beautiful. No. Cherry petals really suit you. Perfidious. Deceitful, untrustworthy. Okay, thank you. She turned around. She probably didn't want to. She probably expected something else. Elegant phrases, intelligent words, something that wasn't this. Really? Yes, of course. She smiled. I too must have expected something different. Feelings, confessions, as beautiful as those fluttering petals. But at the time, those words were more important to me than anything else. More important than that tree, more important than the moment, more important than life itself. Because I realized that they were like a petal resting in my hand before it fell to the ground. So near, so fragile, so precious. I'm gonna put the mouse down here. December 6, 1987. Or would it be June 12th? I feel like it's probably June 12th. I know like it's different in some countries. I woke up. The fan was humming as obnoxiously as ever. Its noise must have been what woke me up. I was sick of it, of course, but it was a necessary evil. Okay, it's summer, so it was June. Summer heat was relentless, even with the doors open. It was 3 in the morning, and the silence was sickening. Dear God, better to hear the blaring of police sirens or the shouting of a tipsy neighbor, or the screeching of car tires. I almost said cat. The U.S. is one of the few that does a month, day. Okay. So yeah, I think it's at June 12th. So I wasn't born yet. I was born like 4 days later. Anything but this obnoxious fan. I would have turned it off long ago, but then I'd certainly been cooked alive by the heat. Hell, Russian winters had nothing on Japanese summers. With effort, I got up, went to the kitchen for some water. What were Russian winters like anyway? Muffled creaking came from the floorboards under my feet. But the rest of the house, which consisted of 3 bedrooms, living room, bathroom, and some pantries, paid no attention to its sole inhabitant. Damn, it really was 3 a.m. Gulped the water down greedily, spilling half over myself. Next morning, I had to go to school. Had to. Why exactly? Maybe I was the only one who came up with these stupid duties and responsibilities, straddling myself with the necessity of socializing and waiting for the useless piece of paper that would attest to me possessing a high school education. I must have invented this world myself, as was my wont. Must have made it up alongside all the other worlds that I fabricate daily, for myself, for those I knew, for the whole world. These applications were nothing but stupid conventions of that world. By a stroke of bad luck, it was also the world that most people viewed as the real one. I poured myself another glass of water and returned to bed. Moon shone brightly, animating every speck of dust. In its mournful light, my room looked entirely different, like a portal to another world. A world that was beyond even my imagination. A silver ray fell on the table, inching towards a heap of papers. School papers, an unfinished novel, letters from my mother, from friends in Russia. I guess this dude's Russian. And I got up and put a particular scrap of paper into a drawer. Has it been a year since I arrived? Or why should it even bother me? Then again, why was it on my table? I should have tossed it long ago. Jumped up, took a step towards the table, and came to a halt. How could I? It's not as if I hadn't tried before. More than once. Phone rang. I wouldn't say loudly. I can barely hear it. Very loudly. I don't know about that. Actually, I'm gonna... There we go. That might do it. Okay, it's a little bit better. It was 3 in the morning. Who could possibly need to talk to me at this hour? To a dejected high schooler, sunken self-reflection. Although I was used to it. Hello? Hi. You're not asleep? As you can tell, I felt a strong desire to hang up and disconnect the phone. But stronger still, I wish that she could be here now, close by. How come? How should I know? Probably because you called me? She mumbled something unintelligible. How are things in general? How should things be in general at 3 in the morning? I don't know. Great? Then they're great. Oh, quit it. But what did you want to hear? I just wanted to call. You thought it was okay to call at 3 a.m. I saw the light come on in your kitchen, so I figured you were up. Are you spying on me? No, I was just... The line went silent for a few seconds. She must have been trying to think of something that wouldn't sound too ridiculous. It's just I couldn't sleep either. Why either? What if I had been sleeping? But you weren't. Alright, let's start from the beginning. What'd you want? I wanted to know. She paused mid-sentence as if working up the courage for continuing more confidently. Are you coming to school tomorrow? What if I am? Then I'll come get you in the morning. No, that's just great. It's 3 in the morning and you're gonna come by when? In 3 hours? So we won't be late. You know what? I think I'm gonna pass. Hey, you can't keep missing school. At this rate, you won't be able to graduate. And then you won't be able to find a good job, and then I'm going to turn into a NEET. And I haven't used that phrase in a long time. She got entirely tangled up in predictions of my future. Oh, well, no biggie. It won't be a biggie. Leave the door unlocked. In the morning, you have your keys. What does it matter if I lock the door? Oh, right. Well, see you in the morning then. See ya. I didn't feel like arguing. What's the point anyway? She would come and wake me up regardless. That's what she did almost every day. Why did I ever give her keys? Well, that was a while back. Must have been about a year. The cherry petals were probably falling on that day as well. But to hell with them! I made sure to set my alarm so I'd be up before she came. Not that it mattered much, but this was getting old. What's more, I was worried that I was getting too accustomed to it, seeing her familiar face every morning. Dependent, even. Which was something I absolutely couldn't allow to happen. So if she wanted to come in the morning, fine, but she wouldn't be waking me up again. September 7th. Okay. "100 bells chime with 100 melodies in my head, announcing the morning." In that melody were the cheerful chirping of the birds, the construction on the neighboring street, the boisterous shouts of street vendors, the damaged fan that hadn't quit humming for a second, and the grumpy muttering somewhere close by. "Oh, hello." The fixed gaze of large green eyes, the pouting lips, and 2 red braids all informed me that I had slept in. "What time is it?" The girl picked up the alarm clock and shoved it in my face. "But it's still early," I protested. "The early bird gets the worm." This is Himitsu. I feel like I've known her my whole life. Or at least since my parents and I moved to Japan. Her mother is Russian, although she divorced Mitsu's father when we were still children. Okay, enough lounging around. Time to get up, wash up, eat breakfast, and go to school. This is how most of my days start. Though, after all these years, I've grown used to it. Incidentally, I forgot to introduce myself. Nikolai, a high school senior. "Nico-kun!" Mitsu's voice carried throughout the entire house, and it no longer felt quite so empty and lonely. I quickly showered and dressed, and then went into the kitchen. The house was really too big for one person. In fact, it was probably designed for a multi-generational family. Grandparents, parents, children, grandchildren. All the empty space felt oppressive even when my parents were still with me. Now it felt like a museum or a library. Who in their right mind would want to live in one of those, especially by themselves? Bon appetit! Same to you. An omelette and several kinds of salads grace the table. Oh my god, I love this music. I picked up a piece of cucumber with my chopsticks and lazily rolled it around the plate. It's not... I have no idea whether or not there's an H scene in this. Where is it? I have to make sure this thing will... Okay, it's still good. Just in case. Not hungry? I am, but I can't live off grass like a rabbit. It's frowned. So, instant ramen is better in your book? I don't know about better, but it certainly certainly tastier. Hey! She puffed out her cheeks comically, which made her look like a cute hamster. I put real work into it, you know. K.O. I could say nothing to counter that, so I concentrated on chewing. What are you planning to do after school today? I don't know. Kyosuke wanted to go to the movies, I think. Do you have another idea? She set her chopsticks aside and looked at me intently as if about to say something important. Maybe. She laughed, trying to hide her embarrassment. Never mind, it's not important. Mitsu's in love with me. I've known this for a long time, but I've done nothing about it. At some point I grew so used to it that I couldn't tell anyone whether she loves me as a brother or a man. To be perfectly honest, I didn't care one way or another. If you want to go somewhere, I can reschedule the movie. It can do without me tonight. Her face gleamed with an earnest smile. Well, actually, I wanted to check out this one store near the station. It just opened. The girls at school won't stop talking about it. Someone else in my shoes might have considered this a date. But I simply enjoyed spending time with Himitsu. She seemed content with her arrangement, too. You haven't finished your breakfast. Nor did I plan to. I might still have to eat more grass for lunch. Why don't you ever make borscht or dumplings or something? Borscht isn't breakfast, and besides, I've made it before. Mitsu pouted. She admitted it before, true, but not in the same way I remembered from my childhood. I wasn't about to tell her that. It's one thing to know how to do something. Oh, it's one thing not to know how to do something. You can always learn. It's quite another to both know and do, and yet fail to meet expectations. When that's the case, there's a good chance you'll never learn. You're right. Sorry. The worst is very good. Worst. Yeah, worst. I repeated. Mitsu glared at me. Anyone else in her place would have long since emptied this bowl of imaginary borscht over my head. So, what's the store you were talking about? They sell clothes. She kept staring at me. Dresses, sweaters, skirts, clothing, women's clothing. Do you think maybe you should go with one of your girlfriends then? I'm not saying no, it just might be a bit awkward. Why? I don't know. It's just the way things are here. You know how I'm not always great with the local customs. I was telling the truth. Anyone else would have long since gotten used to the Japanese way of life, to Japanese traditions and cultural norms, or at least in the ways of the local high schoolers. No one is going to think anything. It's not like we're... Mitsu's now completely flustered, which was making her upset. I couldn't tell if she was more upset with me or with herself. Sometimes when I talked to Mitsu, and not only her, I would hit a dead end, and I no longer knew what was expected of me, while the other person I couldn't understand why I didn't get it. In the end, the entire meaning of the conversation would end up buried under an avalanche of misunderstanding, which snowballed with every new remark. At such times, it was better to agree or to remain silent. All right, it's fine. No one's going to think anything. Would they? Exactly. Mitsu said triumphantly and went to wash the dishes. What was this kind of weather? Early in the fall, called in Russia, Grandma's summer? In Japan, at any rate, it was still very hot at the beginning of September. Yeah, no, not really. Mitsu walked alongside me, smiling. Occasionally glanced over at her, trying to figure out what was on her mind. Not that I was particularly interested. More likely, I was just trying to distract myself from my own thoughts. The image of the falling cherry petals kept surfacing in my mind, dragging up painful memories. As for Mitsu, she never broached the subject. She was keen to avoid reopening the wound, or was she just showing tact? Oh, so that was her. Hey, Tanika-kun, do you copy? Huh? What? I had clearly been daydreaming. We're almost there, and you're still sleeping? Mitsu knit her brow. As always, her displeasure looked more comical than intimidating. I'm not sleeping. I'm solving the world's problems in my head. Oh, yeah, what sort of problems? She laughed. Political sort? Not even geopolitical? Who else would solve them if not yours truly? Your grades are a little underwhelming for a future politician. That's not important. There've been plenty of great people who didn't get the best grades in schools. Take Einstein, for instance. I see. Mitsu smirked. We would have probably kept chit-chatting like this if it weren't for a scuffle happening at that moment at the school gate. Several people had surrounded a girl from a distance, so I couldn't see who it was. Look, said Himitsu, quietly slowing down. I listened in. She probably wears the same skirt all year. Must be a hand-me-down from her older sister. How does a bum like her even get admitted to our school? It's not a halfway house. Go work at the fish market. Careful now, you might catch something from her. It's not like I was going to be, with her. Hey, you're onto something. I bet that's how she spends her nights, earning a little side cash. Poor thing. Needs to pause for a second. Isn't she in your class? I looked more closely. She did look familiar. I think so. Are you saying you don't even know who your classmates are? Of course I do. That's not good. Mura. I fixed my hair, looked triumphantly at Mitsu. She was not impressed. In fact, she's our class president. Mitsu was still looking at me reproachfully. Well, what? I've never spoken much with her. And anyway, this is the first time we've been together in the same class, and it's only been 6 months. Meanwhile, the scuffle, if you call it that, was picking up steam. The girl remained stubbornly silent, only dropping her head lower with every minute. This only continued to encourage the bullies. Come on, who would pay money for someone like her? Except maybe a couple hundred yen. The speaker made a show of opening his wallet, stuffed with bills, pulling out a handful and waiting in front of Iwamura. Alright, this is really getting out of hand. I muttered under my breath, but the other students walked right on past, pretending not to notice anything. Damn traditions again. This isn't right. Don't. Just tell a teacher. Mitsu tugged lightly at my sleeve. And what's the teacher gonna do? Scold him? My, aren't you ashamed of yourselves? I was starting to get worked up. If I had to think about it, what business of mine was this? Fellow classmate? So what? If I hadn't exchanged more than a couple of words with her before this day... Wait, what's that? I hadn't exchanged more than a couple of words with her this day. Still, this is hard to watch one poor girl getting picked apart by an entire pack. Should we or should we not? You say kick his ass? We have a second. Going once, going twice. Why should I stay on the sidelines? What if Himitsu were in her place? After all, we weren't exactly the richest kids at this school either. Sorry. Mitsu only smiled slightly in response. Hey! I yelled and headed confidently in their direction. Leave her alone! At first, she just looked at me in surprise. Yoramura, on the other hand, kept staring at the ground and didn't react at all. Nice pompadour. And who would you be? What do you care? Keep walking. Her tone was challenging, but that only boosted my confidence. 4 against 1. Don't you think that's a bit unfair? You want some too, is that it? 2 guys from the group stepped forward, cracking their knuckles for emphasis. Seems like they could do more than trash talk. What's the hero gonna do now? One of them smirked. Yeah, what? But to tell the truth, I didn't know either. I had been compelled to stand up for Iramura by some kind of inflamed sense of justice. No more. But here, you weren't supposed to act this way, and there, you were supposed to help your neighbor. But real life isn't manga or anime. In real life, I had no superpowers. You're about to find out. I got up close to one of them. And froze. What now? But the guy staggered back, clearly rattled. Who do you think you are? That same instant, the second guy rushed up to me, clearly intending to shove me in the chest. My reflexes kicked in before I could think. Oh. I swung out my arm. Crack. Same sound of the assailant's jaw. The world around me seemed to freeze. Yotamura, the other girls, even the guy who I just punched all stared, seemingly transfixed with surprise. But this only lasted an instant. You have any idea who my father is? One of the girls shouted. Don't yell, let's just go. You're some sort of psycho. Another girl tried to calm her friend down. Dude, my dad owns a dealership. The second guy helped his fallen friend up from the ground. This isn't over. We'll remember you. With these words, they quickly headed away from the school. Mitsu rushed over in the same instant. Nico-kun, are you alright? Yes, of course. I replied calmly while examining my slightly swollen fist. Surprising, I wasn't shaking with adrenaline, as might have been expected. Everything must have happened too suddenly. Iromura-senpai? In all the commotion, I had forgotten about the chief cause of this kerfuffle. She stood silently, peering sullenly at us from under her eyebrows. Are you alright? Fighting isn't prohibited on school grounds, she said quietly. What? A dumb smile spread across my face. I looked over at Himitsu. She looked just as confused as I was. I'm saying there was no need to get into a fight. Well, in case you haven't noticed, I was kind of defending you. They would have left in the end. Iromura went silent for a second, and then looked up at me. Her eyes flashed, but just as quickly as her indifferent demeanor returned. They always do. Regardless, you could at least say thank you. It was common courtesy. I was even more upset now than a minute earlier. And not only here, but in the whole world. Iromura's only response was to raise her chin, snort, and quickly make her way toward the school gate. That's just unreal. I told you not to get involved, Mitsu said quietly. But you did act like a real hero. Some hero, right? Where have you seen heroes like this? In movies, the heroes get thanked for saving someone. But you didn't do that for the sake of gratitude, did you? Mitsu kept smiling, which made me flustered. We'll see what sort of gratitude the teachers give me, I grumbled. Come on, let's go. Another routine school day had now begun. I couldn't remember my Russian school at all, even though I had attended it for an entire 6 months. But for some reason, it seemed to me that schools were more or less the same everywhere in the world. As were people. Really, how many ways could there be to get stuff into a kid's noggin? If Marconi and Popov could, independently of each other, invent the radio, why couldn't identical best practices emerge in education at the opposite ends of the earth? A shout from the teacher snapped me out of these thoughts. Whatever school was like in Russia, school here was pretty strict. There was a reason, after all, why this was one of the best schools in the country. My class consisted largely of children of the rich and famous businessmen, politicians, showbiz stars. Sometimes I felt out of place here. But then, even among this elite, there were people who were almost ordinary. One such person, Kyosuke, came up to me during break. I had known Kyosuke since middle school. He came across as a down-to-earth guy, with none of the attitude of the local privileged youth. Hey, Nick, did you hear what happened this morning? I looked around the classroom and spotted one of the girls had been harassing me a little more. Oh, that had been harassing me a little more. She gave me a mean look, but then quickly went back to what she had been doing. Whatever. No, what happened? I asked, even though I knew perfectly well what Kyosuke was referring to. This morning, at the school gate. Kyosuke lowered his voice. There was a brawl. Some word for it. Couldn't think of a better one? Yeah, well, I'm aware. What do you mean? Did you? His eyes lit up, leaned in towards me, and then continued at a rapid-fire pace. Are you the guy? The one who punched Kurosaki from Class B? Somehow I neglected to ask his name. I answered proudly, and immediately winced. There was nothing to be proud of here. Now everyone is going to gossip about what a dangerous bully I was, and no one's going to remember that I actually saved a poor girl from harassment. Don't get the wrong idea, I was just defending. My eyes were scouring the classroom in search of Iromura. I was defending... she wasn't there. Was I really looking for her for proof of my heroic deed? Or confirmation that I wasn't just a troublemaker? Well, anyway, I was defending a girl. A girl? Who? Kyosuke squinted. Don't know who she is. Anyway, what does it matter? It was a natural reaction, you know? Anyone in my place. I looked up at Kyosuke. Any decent person would have done the same. Yeah, sure. Don't forget to introduce me to this mystery girl of yours. He wanted to add He seemed to want to add something, but at the moment the school bell rang. He didn't need to know that the girl was Iromura. She had it pretty rough as it was. And again, maybe part of the blame lay with her. Next lesson was contemporary Japanese. I've been in Japan for 10 years now. I speak the language fluently, of course, but writing still gives me grief at times. When the break arrived, I rushed out of the classroom to avoid a continued conversation about the morning's incident. Kyosuke can be pushy and persistent, but he did lack entirely. He didn't love that. God, I'm only like 45 minutes in. I'm already flubbing everything. I can't even speak right. I need coffee. Give me a second. But he didn't entirely lack tact, so I was probably being too cautious. English was next, and came much more easily to me. I spent the better part of the lesson gazing out of the sports ground where a soccer match was taking place. Soon my thoughts took me far from school, to the day where the cherry petals were falling. Fall was here, and that meant the trees would soon be shedding their foliage again. The color palette might be different this time, but would my feelings remain the same? A couple more weeks, a month at the most, and I would know. The bell recalled me to reality, and my stomach started to gurgle noisily. Didn't have breakfast today? Let's make a cafeteria run. You're always ready to chow down. Oh, where there's a whole body, there's a whole mind. A whole lot of body, more like it. I was, however, really hungry and I didn't want to wait until lunch. Alright, let's go. The memory of Himitsu's healthy, balanced diet was still fresh in my mind. I wanted to eat something unhealthy, but delicious. Sadly, food poisoning was not on the menu. The cafeteria, like everything else at this school, was first rate. I couldn't tell you if the food here was on par with what they serve at the world's top restaurants, as I hadn't been to one. But on the whole, I had no complaints. Besides, the menu had plenty of European options. No borscht among them, of course. We entered the cafeteria. Kyosuke was babbling on about some new magical girl anime. I wouldn't call myself a huge anime fan, but I watch them sometimes too. Though if you had to put my enthusiasm for them on a scale, I was as far as Kyosuke was Tokyo is from Moscow. Suddenly, BAM! Something jacked my side, not too hard but enough to be felt. On top of that, I was doused with a liquid. A girl holding a tray popped up from behind. I was dripping with orange juice while she gazed in bewilderment at the fruit of her flavor. Hey, careful! I was more frustrated than angry. She didn't react in any way. Instead, she just kept looking at me in surprise. Finally, she seemed to come to her senses. You're the one who should watch where you're going. What? I was so taken aback, I smiled like an idiot, and even retreated a step. Meanwhile, the girl scowled and glared at me. I said, watch where you go instead of sleepwalking. You were the one who actually bumped into me. And why would I bump into you? I was lost for an answer. The girl was talking nonsense, but was doing it so confidently that I couldn't help but question my own judgment. I'm gonna hang on. Where's my... Alright, that's a bit better. I just needed to find my audio mixer because the music was getting loud. I couldn't hear myself speak. And why would I? How should I know? You're the one who bumped into me. Alright, you got me. Won't happen again. I snapped back and was prepared to leave. Wait, she said quietly. You're, well, all wet. I looked at myself over. Not the prettiest pictures, to be sure. And what do you suggest? A joint trip to the shower? Me? I wasn't... How could you even think? Surprise and confusion on her face gave way to indignation. Here was an insulted and humiliated victim, and I was the culprit, naturally. Okay, just forget it. Everything's fine. Wait. Her tone changed faster than the weather in the tropics. Here, take this. She handed me a handkerchief. I accepted it without argument and was about to thank her when she snorted, turned on her heel, and left to join her girlfriends at the far end of the cafeteria. What a strange girl. I think she likes me. Nick, you... started Kyosuke when I sat down at our table. He was flaring his nostrils and gasping like a fish out of water. Do you know who that was? No. Who? That was Ellie-sama! He looked probingly at me, as though expecting me to exclaim, "Oh, Ellie!" I'm not gonna do. You mean her? Who? I inquired coolly. How can you not know? And you want people to believe you're a student here? I don't want that. That's what the paperwork says. If only you paid more attention to what goes on around you. Alright, enough suspense already. Just tell me. He was clearly chomping at the bit. Yosuke repositioned himself more comfortably on his chair and assumed a serious look and began. Ellie, she's the school queen. She has perfect grades, she's great at sports, and she's won awards at the national... No, not even. At the international level. Not the interplanetary? What a relief. Anyone would consider it an honor to be acquainted with her. To have her spill a drink on you? Is that what you meant? Kyosuke ignored me and carried on. I'd give up my entire manga collection to have her start a conversation with me. Your entire collection? Okay, half. I squinted. Fine, a third. Alright, I get it. I should expect the police to show up at my door and await my sentence. Death by glares. Except, hold on a second, I'm completely innocent! You don't get it at all. Kyosuke sighed. Then again, maybe she should expect the police. After all, her grandfather is the chairman of the school board of directors. And what am I supposed to do now? Keep apologizing to her? She is the one who bumped into me and spilled juice all over me. He sighed again and returned to eating. I slowly turned and looked in the direction of the school queen. Judging by the lively conversation and laughter coming at her table, Ellie had already forgotten all about the incident with my lowly serf self. The juice dried pretty quickly, leaving behind a notable yellow stain on my white shirt. I didn't really care about my appearance, but the school had its standards, and I didn't take kindly to such sloppiness, so I had to change into a jersey and track jackets. After another uneventful lesson, it was time for the long break, also known as lunchtime. Had I agreed to meet Himitsu for lunch? I couldn't remember. I could just go for a stroll around the school, seeing as I had eaten only an hour earlier. Should I go for a walk, or should I look for Himitsu? Okay. One thing was certain, I couldn't stay in the classroom. Actually, I just didn't want to listen to Kyosuke's empty chatter for another half hour. More stories about anime, manga, and school gossip. News stories every day, all equally meaningless. It's not that I didn't like Kyosuke. He's a good friend, but I doubted he could be much of an assistance when my mind was occupied with something altogether different from magical girls. I wasn't going to have lunch with Himitsu, but I told Kyosuke otherwise. The hallways and the schoolyard were all crowded with students. That's when it dawned on me. The roof. The roof wasn't the most popular spot. I wonder why. I quickly stopped by the cafeteria to pick up some rolls and a bottle of milk. Door's hinges, badly in need of lubrication, screeched horribly as a powerful gust of wind welcomed me up. I was forced to take a step back and grab the stair railing to steady myself. Then I found myself on the roof. The bright sun was blinding, but at least there was no one here. Or was there? At the far end of the roof, a girl was sitting on the bench eating a bento. It was Irimura. She was gazing out into the distance towards the horizon, looking dreamy. I hesitated to approach her, remembering the morning's incident. What was I going to say to her? The roof seemed too small for both of us at the moment. On the other hand, I looked stupid just standing there. If I turned around now, she would think I was scared. What was there to be afraid of anyway? I approached her slowly and stood nearby. Reluctantly, Irimura granted me her attention. Apparently, she'd just been aware of my presence all along, which meant I did the right thing. I remember how she behaved in the morning, after that tussle with those bullies. After that, I was supposed to feel awkward around her? Or guilty? Can I sit here? Irimura shrugged her shoulders and scooted over to one side of the bench. I sat down, opened the bag containing my simple lunch, and glanced furtively, am I saying that right, at Irimura's bento. It seemed just as good as Himitsu's. Well, if Iwamora's really was poor, stood the reason that she knew how to cook. You know, I still felt awkward around her, which was really bugging me. What? If I spoke my mind now, was I going to get the same reaction as earlier? I was wondering, why were those jerks after you this morning? Why do you care? How about because I was directly involved in that incident? Had the police been there, I would have gone to the books as an accomplice. Secretive or attempting to go on others. Okay, thank you. They're always harassing me. What? Just because? For no reason at all? You wouldn't understand. Maybe she was right. I'd never been bullied. I don't know this full story, sure, but it seems to me that nothing happens without a reason. Everyone has their own reasons. Iwamura said cryptically. But there are laws. I don't know, it's not right. Laws? She pulled away from her bento, turned toward me and looked at me severely. Laws exist for normal people, not for people like them. Or for people like you. Should I remind you that I was the one who saved you would have sounded inappropriate. I was the one who helped you? She said nothing back and resumed eating. Could have at least said thanks. Thanks. Bleh, said Iwamura quietly. Now we're getting somewhere. She slammed her lunchbox closed and stood up briskly from the bench. Thanks again. Enjoy your meal. She snapped back without so much as looking at me and left. Right. See you later. I muttered to myself, quickly finished my lunch, and left for class. Kyosuke was already waiting for me there, grinning ear to ear. So, how was lunch with Himitsu-chan? Fine. Where was he going with this? Oh, really? So that was some other Mitsu who came looking for you 5 minutes ago? Uh-oh. Didn't you know she has a twin sister? Her name is Shinjitsu. Yeah, sure. I swear. Mitsu's the good one, and Shinjitsu's the evil one. Or the other way around. You got it very lucky, by the way, because her superpower is sucking the souls out of the fat and excessively curious otaku. Whatever, man. Kyosuke sounded offended and went back to his desk. School day was coming to a close. Worn out students had started counting off the minutes, but there was still one more class to go. Mitsu stopped in during the break to remind me that we had agreed to go shopping after school. At first, I had trouble figuring out what she was even talking about. Teacher was trying unsuccessfully to call the class to attention, but most students were ignoring him. I mean, a lot of the students at the school were genuinely invested in their education and keen to learn, but a good half only sat through these lessons for the sake of their prestigious diploma. Why worry about trivialities like grades or detentions while your whole life is planned out for you decades in advance? Settle down, the teacher kept repeating. Regrettably, he could not yell at them. All right, if you don't calm down, you're going to find out that we have a new girl joining us today. Instantly, the classroom plunged into silence, broken only by a few whispers. A new student? In the middle of the year? Is she cute, I wonder? I wasn't particularly excited. I was used to their constant gossiping, and I couldn't care less if the class gained another student, since I didn't know the existing ones very well to begin with. Come in. A subdued murmur rippled through the classroom, but I felt too lazy to even lift my head. But then I felt a strong shove in the back. Hey! I turned around and looked at Kyosuke. He sat there, mouth ajar. Who could the new kid be that even these overprivileged children would react like that? I faced the blackboard. The classroom was a whirlwind of scarlet cherry petals. Does anyone really find them beautiful? But how? Why? The girl from my visions, this visitor from the past, was standing just a few meters away from me. Well, go ahead and introduce yourself. My name is Catherine Winters. Actually, I know a few people here already. She quickly surveyed the classroom without pausing on anyone in particular. I look forward to studying with you. She deliberately distorted the standard Japanese greeting. Catherine Winters. So official. She had always just been Katya to me. She was the one with who I had watched the petals fall. Then she moved away. She just left and never really gave a reason. She left me alone, breaking my heart and shattering my dreams. I should have been mad. I should have hated her even, but I couldn't. But how disgustingly trite and hackneyed. Am I saying that right? Hackneyed? Hackney. Okay, I had it the second time. Hackney. Like I'd been trapped inside a second-rate shoujo manga. Shoujo manga. Yeah. Now she just needed glittering sparkles around her face and some wispy clouds in the background. What, petals aren't enough for you? I would wait for it. There's nothing I wasn't used to. I rubbed my eyes and pinched myself hard. Nope. Not a dream. Hey, Nick, why is she back? Do you know something? Why haven't you said anything? Yosuke was prattling unknowingly behind my back. My world had contracted into a dark tunnel, with me at one end immersed in total darkness, and her at the other, bathed in light. Except that waiting for me at the other end was surely no paradise. Meanwhile, the teacher showed Catherine to her desk. She walked past me without so much as a glance. I was at a loss for words. Was I supposed to jump in the middle of the lesson and scream, "What are you doing here?" My classmates' initial astonishment had faded away in the meantime. Many did in fact know Catherine. She had been a student at this school before. The rest probably just hadn't expected to see a foreigner after all. There weren't that many of them even at our school. Excuse me. I doubted they even considered me a foreigner. That is, if they were aware of my existence at all. I met Katya in my first year of high school. Somehow we ended up dating. She and I, rather incredible. Her mother had been working in Japan for quite some time, same as my parents. Time passed and everything seemed to be going well. Then one day, Katya told me we could no longer be together. Something about her mother getting transferred. I could probably accept that story. I could forgive and forget. But didn't it hurt her even a little? What? Was I just a coworker? Someone you simply cut ties with when you transferred to another office? Why? We should have had an office farewell party. I would have stocked up on gifts. I'm sorry. Goodbye now. Cold, hollow, everyday words. After all that, she was going to just show up in my class? Nice to meet you. I look forward to studying with you. Seriously? Was there not another school in goddamn Tokyo? I couldn't believe it. Still, somewhere deep inside, an ember of hope remained. What if she came back because of me? And that's the reason that she's here now. Right. Hope springs eternal. I was watching the seconds go by on the clock. Talk to her. I had to talk to her. The bell at last. I worked up the courage and she floated right past me, heading for the door. Had I been too slow? Too indecisive? What did it matter now? Hey, Nick, are you asleep or what? Yosuke's words seemed to come from afar as if from another world. What was I gonna say to her? Hi, long time no see, how are things? Anyway, why hadn't she approached me first? Was she scared? Shy? Nonsense. That wasn't like the Katya at all. That wasn't like Katya. No, for some reason I read that was like, that isn't the Katya I know. And she must have not wanted to talk. I knew her too well. Kyosuke was shaking me frantically, muttering something, but I was ignoring him. Nico! A new voice. Nico! Mitsu. I lifted my eyes and looked somewhere past her. Nico, do you read me? I snapped back to reality. Yeah, what is it? You've forgotten again, haven't you? She was pouting comically. I knew you would, so I decided to come fetch you. What you want with me? Fetch me? What for? Oh, right. I made some kind of a plan. What did that matter now? Catherine had left and she's moving further away with each passing second. Maybe the distance between us now is far greater than the miles of the Pacific Ocean, and all the miles of the Pacific Ocean. But I had no idea what I was going to say to her. I had long been secretly hoping to get over her, to let go and move on with my life. And now this? Regardless, I had to make a decision. If I was going to run after her, I had to get going. Oh no. What do we do? I mean, really. I am tempted. But I don't want to blow off Himitsu again. Okay. How much longer was I going to let this continue? A surgeon has to excise the rotting flesh to prevent disease from spreading to the rest of the body. Since we were classmates now, I was bound to find out eventually why she had come back. Of course, I remember. I stood up confidently, and took Mitsu by the hand and headed for the door. Wait, what about... I turned and gave Kyosuke a glare so furious that he'd shut up immediately. Anger, resentment, longing, all these emotions intermingled within me. I walked down the hallway, oblivious to the world around me. Oh, excuse me. That yawn came out of nowhere. I stopped only when we reached the lockers. I looked around the schoolyard. What if she was still here? Nico, Mitsu ventured timidly. What? I snapped back, turned around, and realized I was still holding her hand. Oh, sorry. I let go. Did something happen? Don't say it didn't. I can see something's wrong. Kyosuke looked agitated too. Kyosuke? I snickered. The only thing likely to agitate him is something some unrealistically shaped anime girl. Talking about the big chest. Probably, yeah. The look in Mitsu's large eyes didn't change. I meant that he was telling me about another anime again. You know, the one about the magical girls. They show at 6. You must have seen it. Why was I lying to her? Why was I lying now? I knew I couldn't hide Catherine from her. Oh, she doesn't know! Sooner or later, Mitsu was going to run into her at school. Or worse yet, Catherine would show up at her house. Oh, they did know each other, after all. Anyway, it's nothing. Let's go to your store. Where'd you say it was again? By the station? Mitsu wasn't going to pry. It wasn't in her nature. Guess what? So the teacher asked Rick today, when did man first land on the moon? And you know what he said? 2079. Can you believe it? 1979. No, wait. 1969. Yeah, 1969. July 1969. Mm-hmm. And then during PE... Oh, wow. Just noticed the train in the back. I noticed there's like small like bits of animation. I know back at his house you can see the fan going. That's a nice touch with the train in the back. Anyways, Mitsu carried on as though nothing happened. Maybe nothing did, where she was concerned. The store wasn't too impressive from the outside. Maybe it was the low prices that drew girls in. By the standards of our school, Mitsu's family wasn't terribly wealthy, but her father worked for the government, so they weren't poor either. We went inside. Mitsu was trying on one outfit after another. How do you like it? It's fine. Now how about this one? I think the color will be in fashion this winter. It's fine. What do you think of this dress? A little discontent was starting to seep into her voice. I like the last one better. I know I knew that she tried that one on before. I was in no mood for a fashion show. To me, Mitsu looked good in any outfit. Why did she even need all this stuff? Did she not have enough clothes? Really, why? Because she wanted to hang out with me. I'd known Mitsu for a long time, but I couldn't recall her ever being in a relationship. But she wasn't a child anymore. She was a beautiful young woman. It was high time for her to get a boyfriend. Hold it. Was I feeling jealous? No, of course not. Anyway, if she had found somebody, I would have been the first to hear about it. I think what matters is that you like it. But I like a lot of them. I like this and this. This one, not so much. Mitsu was shuffling through the clothes. What had she done to deserve this treatment from me? Catherine is back, I said, trying to be casual. What? She seemed to not have grasped what I said. She showed up in class today right before the last session. I guess we're going to be classmates now. Really? Mitsu became instantly miserable and dropped the dress she liked so much. I see you're not too happy. I'm happy. I just thought that she had moved away permanently. Well, that's what I thought too. And what's she planning to do now? What do you mean? I mean... Mitsu was hurriedly putting the clothes back on the rack. She'd been gone so long. You're seniors already. You know, honestly, I hadn't asked her about her life plans. Hell, I haven't even talked to her. What about you? Are you glad? She asked gently. Wouldn't call the situation straightforward, but what's there to be glad about? You know full well what happened last year. Yeah. But that's all in the past now. We'll see what happens. I'm sure she has her reasons. At least I didn't have to keep lying to her, Mitsu. Sure, I hadn't told her everything, but what's the point of dumping all my worries on her? In the end, this is between me and Catherine. Are you not going to buy anything? She paused to think. No. Everything's expensive here, and I'm almost out of allowance for the month. But it's only the 7th, I exclaimed. Well, let me get you a present then. That white and yellow dress would look good on you. No, it didn't, Mitsu countered unexpectedly. I look fat in it. You? Fat? I laughed loudly, drawing annoyed looks from the store clerks and other shoppers. See, this is why I didn't want to come, I whispered. Mitsu smiled and said nothing back. We hardly talked on the way home. I felt awkward. Now, it would have been a great time to hear stories about Ray or Saya, but I couldn't. Who couldn't hit a volleyball over the net? Let me touch your face. Don't feel bad because of Katya. I feel fine. Come on, I can see it. Don't worry, I'll be alright. It's been long enough. The important thing is that you believe that yourself. I do. It's all a bit unexpected, but you know how she is. She comes uninvited, leaves without saying goodbye, always self-centered. I smiled involuntarily. Mitsu noticed and grew even sadder. Thankfully, by then we'd already approached my house. Well, I'll be off. See you tomorrow. See you. Oh, coffee burp, excuse me. I wanted to say something else, but instead just watched as she walked through the gate. Hold up. That's a Famicom. Nice. I spent the rest of the day trying futilely not to think about Catherine. If I continued like this, I was going to lose my mind. Every 5 minutes, the phone rang. I didn't pick it up because I knew it was Kyosuke, who also be calling me. When it came to that crazy otaku, I was lucky he wasn't pounding on my door. In the end, I unplugged the phone. I tried to keep myself distracted with TV and video games, but they got boring quickly. What? How dare you? I even did some homework for a change. Played bass for a bit. Oh! And then fixed myself a simple dinner. Needless to say, I would have rather eaten Mitsu's cooking. But she must have been busy. Not that Mitsu was under any obligation to make meals for me on a daily basis, but I was used to it. Thinking about it, I realized my habits had become an integral part of my life, to the point where they'd started to take center stage in it. Catherine's reappearance was threatening to throw everything off balance. It's like I'd grown senile and flabby in the past year and a half. To the point where I craved stability above all. But why did I need chaos in my life and nothing good was going to come out of it anyway? Suddenly the doorbell rang. It was probably Mitsu, but at this hour, it's not her. I slowly made my way towards the door, but halfway through it struck me. Why would Mitsu need to use the bell? Then it had to be Kyosuke, although it was definitely late for him. The evening routine for my well-fed friend was anime followed by bed, but whatever. But there was nobody at the door at all. Looked around, walked outside, but the street was empty. Stupid pranksters. Yet someone had definitely been there, as on the way back I discovered a note on the doorstep. The note read, "Nikolai, be careful. You are in grave danger. Certain very powerful people linked to your father are after you. This is not a prank or hoax." Yeah, sure. Next in order would be a very busty magic girl in my living room, ready to obey my every command. "Kyosuke!" I shouted. "This isn't funny! How do I bring my dad into this?" My parents. The incident. They fled the Soviet Union when I was 7. In Japan, they worked as regular engineers at Kobayashi Corporation. After they passed, I had the option of going back to the USSR to look for my relatives, but I ended up staying, since I'd lived in Japan for most of my life. My father's friends had helped take care of the legal formalities, while his bank account kept me from starving. "Kyosuke," I called out, less confident this time. The only reply I ever got was from a neighbor, who barked something about it being nighttime and not yelling. Well, maybe it wasn't Kyosuke. But then who? This note was a joke its author had failed to deliver the punchline. And what if there was a simpler explanation? What if it was for real? I tore the note between my fingers. It was an ordinary piece of notebook paper, carefully clipped. The words were Japanese, written in a steady hand, although the spelling left something to be desired. Why write by hand at all? Wouldn't it have been simpler to type out the message? Or, in a pinch, clip words from a newspaper or assemble a note that way? Like in those cheesy crime shows? At least I could rule Kyosuke out and I would have recognized his handwriting. You're in grave danger to your father. What if it was those punks? Just because their parents were loaded didn't mean they had A's in Japanese. Or maybe Ellie's servants had decided to take revenge for the cafeteria incident. No, that was ridiculous. Ultimately, who would bother with a regular Japanese student? And why now all times? Right on the heels of Catherine's return, too. To be honest, I can't remember how good Catherine's Japanese grades were. I don't remember her handwriting either. But I knew she spent considerably less time in Japan than I. Catherine had been a decent but not straight A student, and after a year and a half without practice, at any rate, she was the prime suspect now. It didn't even occur to me to ask why. Her motives had stopped making sense to me long ago. Either way, I had to try and find answers at school. I had to try to find some answers at school. But now it was time for bed. I hadn't felt so worn out at the end of the day in a long time. Oh, that's a terrible time to burp at the same time. Oh, excuse me. But the sleep wouldn't come. I kept tossing and turning, getting mad at myself for it. Meanwhile, the clock ticked past midnight. I flinched and perked up my ears. Perhaps I'd imagined it. Not again. I hopped out of bed, eyes scanning the room for anything I could use to defend myself. Just grab your bass guitar. The bass wouldn't do. Oh, come on! Hold on. No, that was 1987. Fooly Cooly hasn't been out yet. I walked up to the door on stiff legs and asked in a shaky voice, "Who is it?" "Nico." I breathed a sigh of relief and opened the door. Do you know what time it is? Sorry, but your phone was off. So? Is that the reason to turn up here in the dead of night? No, but I tried calling several times. I wanted to know if you were going to school tomorrow. If you're so concerned about my attendance, you shouldn't wake me up in the middle of the night. I'm sorry. Suddenly, I felt bad. Mitsu was just being herself while I was taking my problems out on her. She wasn't the one who had brought Catherine back or left a note. It's my fault. I should be apologizing. It's been an awful day. I mean, it's been a tough day, very busy, and I was already asleep. Trying to sleep, at any rate. Okay. I'll be going then. Good night. I shut the door behind her and returned to bed. If today was tough, what would tomorrow be like? A 100 bells chime with 100 melodies in my head, announcing the morning. In that melody, with a cheerful chirping of birds, construction on a neighboring street, the poster shouts of street vendors, and that damn fan that hadn't quit humming for a second, and the grumpy muttering somewhere close by. The fixed gaze of 2 large green eyes, the pouting lips, and the 2 red braids. Hold on. This had already happened before. I jumped out of bed, stared in bewilderment at Himitsu, and blurted out, "What day is it today?" Tuesday," she replied, frightened. "What's wrong?" "Tuesday, huh? Alright then. Tuesday it is then." I scanned the room meticulously. The open notebook I had tried to do doing my homework the night before was still in the same spot, which meant that everything was fine. Just felt like tomorrow hadn't come. What do you mean? Like when you wake up and today is still yesterday, like in a sci-fi novel? You read too many of those. Mitsu laughed. Things seem to be running their normal course. Or a great Bill Murray movie. Was Groundhog Day out by that time? Things seem to be running the normal course, except now I now became aware of that peculiar smell. I sniffed the air. Nope, 1993. Okay. Is that? Yes, well, I prepared breakfast ahead of time. A big pot of borscht sat on the stove. Good lord, but why? Didn't you ask for some yesterday? No, I didn't. I just mentioned it in passing. It was a joke. Well, you know what? She said menacingly. You're gonna have to eat this joke now. Soup for breakfast. Now that was certainly unorthodox. Mitsu had outdone herself this time. Suppose yesterday I'd said something about foie gras. What blah 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 blah. Said something about foie gras in the 1978 Chateau Margaux. Am I saying that one right? I mean, I know the word chateau in the room, but would they be awaiting me now too? In any case, the borscht tasted quite good. Granted, it wasn't exactly a traditional recipe. Well, okay. Mitsu was sitting across from me, looking at me intently. Why aren't you eating? I wanted to hear what you think. Oh, yeah, sorry, it's delicious. Really? She didn't believe me. Yes, really. Why wouldn't it be? Mitsu tried to borscht. True enough. Now don't you dare complain about my cooking again. When did I ever complain? You just don't get my humor. I do get it. I thought it was just some lighthearted banter, but Mitsu didn't look her usual self. Every so often, a shadow of sadness passed over her face. Did something happen? No. What about you? What about me? At that moment, the events of the previous day flashed before my eyes. The surprise awakening, the borscht temporarily made me forget about Catherine and the note. Everything's fine, just a bit unexpected. Don't worry, I'll be alright. Good. If you say so. She smiled. Let's go, or we'll be late for school. We exchanged only a few words along the way. Somehow we just couldn't find a suitable subject for conversation. I didn't want to tell Mitsu about the note just yet. And she probably hadn't had anything happen to her overnight that was worth sharing. Sure, I could have talked about some random stuff, but that wasn't my thing. Finally, we reached the school. No incidents today, I hope, I hemmed. Alright, see you. Don't sleep in class! Mitsu smiled and headed for her classroom. Okay. Now I had to think of a way to snag Catherine's notebook without anyone noticing. Hope she'd written something in it. Preferably in Japanese. As I was walking down the hallway, lost in thought, when someone called my name. Was it Anokin? Anokin? I'll probably say that. Hold it there. The school principal. What was his name? Yes, Kiyama-sensei. What is it? Principal Sanders. Follow me to my office, please. But class is about to start. I protested like this sort of thing was something new to me. It won't take long. The wiry old man in his 70s, maybe older. Kiyama-sensei was always cloyingly polite and cold. On top of that, he dressed and carried himself like in a strictly European manner. I'd always been shocked by how devoted some of the Japanese people were to the Western lifestyle and culture. I couldn't think of any number of sayings in the subject, along the lines of, "To thine own self be true." Although here, this had become something of a tradition in its own right. This was, after all, the school. What's the issue exactly? And the king, please come along. Well, naturally he wasn't going to reprimand me in the middle of the hallway and view the entire school, was he? He went to his office, but someone was already there. Oh, is that Ellie? Huh. Well, if it isn't the Ojusma herself. Standing next to the principal's desk was in fact Ellie. Ah, the boar from yesterday. So seemed equally surprised to see me here. Yesterday's cafeteria incident came back to me in vivid detail. Madam did give me a handkerchief in the end, or to wipe myself. And I tossed it into the dirty laundry at home. Whoops, I need to return it. Let me guess, you're a frequent visitor here? She asked sarcastically. Well, I certainly didn't expect to find myself groveling at your Grace's feet today. That will be all, Kobayashi-san. Kobayashi? That last name sounded familiar. Ellie bade the principal a polite farewell and walked past me, shooting me an angry look. So, Anakin, do you know why you're here? I got a couple theories. The principal sighed and gave me a sad look from behind his glasses. Anakin, I understand that Japanese culture is alien to you, but here at this school, we have students of every nationality. We endeavor to provide all of them with the best opportunities. In return, we expect an appropriate level of respect and adherence to the school rules. There we go. I think you ought to understand this, especially considering your situation. What about my situation? Let's not make this personal now. No, what I meant was, embarrassed to leave this class and began wiping me slowly with a special cloth. I meant to say that we make no distinctions between our students. Rules are the same for everyone. I understand. In that case, you must also understand that you can't just skip classes for no reason. Put his glasses back on and gave me a hard look. And speaking of your attendance record, I understand. If you understand, then why do you keep skipping classes? Do you know who sponsors our school? I shrugged. Kobayashi Corporation. This name does mean something to you, does it not? The company's president himself is chairman of our school's board of trustees. A centuries-old traditions. At that point, I tuned them out. Kobayashi Corporation, Kobayashi Ellie. Things were adding up. Interesting. I wondered, would she still be the school queen if she had been born into an ordinary family? A family like Iwamura's, for instance? Anakin, what's that smirk for? Bet I say something funny. I'm sorry, Kiyama-sensei. This will not happen again. I bowed to the ground. Alright, that's enough. Oh man, apparently hadn't been expecting this degree of repentance from me. I have seen the error of my ways, and I promise this will never happen again. Well, that's the most important thing. The fact that you understand and don't let it happen again. Very well. Go now or we'll be late for class. Thank you very much. I'm going now. Formally took my leave and marched out of his office. So why didn't you tell me that this Ellie of yours is a Kobayashi? There were still a couple minutes left before the beginning of the lesson. I did tell you. No, you didn't. You said her grandfather was a chairman of the board of trustees. As if I'm supposed to know who the chairman is. That's the problem. You never know anything. Anyway, why do you ask? I got called into the principal's office just now. For skipping class? Why else? At that moment, the bell rang. Only now did I remember Catherine. Her seat was behind me, so I couldn't watch her constantly. Was she writing anything down? How was I going to grab her notebook unnoticed anyway? Surprisingly, I was hardly at all anxious. Sleep had cleared my mind. Excuse me. And I found the whole situation more intriguing than troubling. The closing bell finally rang. Catherine got up and left the classroom. This is my chance. I slowly approached her desk, trying to look as inconspicuous as possible. Glanced around. Classmates were all minding their own business. I leaned down, opened the notebook, and flipped through the pages. No, the handwriting was completely different. But how? Why? Sure, I had some issues with Japanese characters. This was this much was obvious. Catherine did not write yesterday's note. Anakin, I stood at attention. Caught, exposed, disgraced. Go to the teacher's room with Iwamura-san and bring the printouts for the next lesson. That was close. I looked at Iwamura. She stood nearby, staring indifferently out the window. Right now, I only wanted to get out of the classroom as quickly as possible. Hi. Well, should we get going? I can go alone. She didn't even look in my direction. But we were told to go together. I'll manage by myself. Under different circumstances, I would have gladly agreed with her. Listen, I understand it all, but I've already been called to the principal's office today, and I'm not burning with desire to go back. Suit yourself. Uramura shrugged and headed toward the door. The hallways were unexpectedly empty. It was as if the students were hiding away in anticipation of something. Uramura walked in silence. This is how she was acting, as if after I'd defended herself a day earlier. The awkward silence desperately demanded a conversation to break it. So, do you have to do this often? I couldn't think of anything better to say. She raised her eyes and looked at me in surprise. That was a first. So I had achieved the desired effect after all. Well, of course. I'm the class president. Oh, yeah, right. Sorry. Silence again. It's just that we never really talked. I don't even know your first name. Why do you need to? It's only natural. Here, I'm Nikolai. This visibly embarrassed Uramura, who seemed to be hesitating with her answer. In Japanese culture, addressing someone by their first name is a sign of close, possibly vulgar familiarity. This was especially true in our case. But I didn't bother with all these conventions. Kagome! Sorry. She said quietly. What? Really? A loud burst of laughter escaped my lips, spooking several passing girls who went as far around us as they could. What's so funny? Kagome frowned. Nothing. It's just, well, you know, it's a weird day. You don't say that to a... What is wrong with this? No weirder than yours. I just got a point. What? What's wrong with my name? It's a normal name. Nikolai, Nicholas if you prefer, or Nick. You're all the same. She was starting to get worked up, it seemed. Who's we? Gaijin? No. The local morons. How rude! Kagome snorted and turned away. Listen, do you have a problem with me? I think you have a problem. Oh, really? And what is it? I'm curious. Who's that new foreigner? I opened my mouth in surprise. Why would she be asking about that? Why? You've been staring at her nonstop for 2 days now. Have you been spying on me? I'd have to be blind not to notice. She responded, unfazed. That's really none of your business. Of course it's not. Kagome smirked. But neither is my life any of yours. So why are you prying? You got a point. Oh, say she's someone you used to know. Say the two of you used to date. Or say you don't know her. There's a Gautier reference somewhere in all this. I don't know if it's... I'm leaning towards saying that I used to know her. I don't know if I should, like, let her in on the full thing, saying that we used to date? I don't know. What would she go with? What would we go with, rather? Honesty is the best policy. My gosh. I don't know, just kind of be laying it on a bit thick by telling her everything, but alright. We were in a relationship at one point. Kagomi's facial expression was hard to read, and she remained silent. Why did you bring her up anyway? It's not every day that we have a new student in our class, and such a striking foreigner at that. I'm a foreigner too, you know. She looked at me up and down, snickered, and said, "Yeah, sure." I knew it! Not only would my face not pass as Japanese, but now I was being denied the title of a proper gaijin as well. Are you always like this? I was starting to lose my temper. We've arrived. Wait here. Hey! Just in time, too, before I could open up my mouth. Kagomi went to the teacher's room. Before I knew it, she was back with a large stack of paper. Carry it. What, all of it? I couldn't see any way to carry the heap comfortably. What if we each carry half? Didn't you yourself volunteer to come along? No, I didn't. The teacher sent me, if you recall. Fine, give it here. Kagomi attempted to take all the papers from me at once. No, wait, that won't do either. Which of us looked more pathetic now? Spurred on by wounded pride, I walked fast, so the return trip took considerably less time. I dropped the mountain of papers on the teacher's desk with a thud while Kagome took her seat and returned to her usual window gazing. I guess no one deserves to be bullied, but man, I could almost understand those punks from yesterday. Judging by the clock, the bell was less than a minute away. Catherine's desk was empty. Turned to Michael. Mike, you're in here? Who sat next to her? That looks nothing like you. Did Catherine, the new girl, did she go somewhere? Don't know. Wasn't really paying attention. Why? Never mind. No reason. Bummed, I sat down at my desk. Could she have somehow noticed that I opened her notebook? No way. Catherine wasn't even in the classroom at the time. Did someone tell her? How long ago did she leave? I'm telling you, I don't know. Are you talking about the new girl? I think she went to see the principal. A classmate overheard our conversation. Thanks. Chair beneath me felt like it was on fire. That's how badly I wanted to run after her. But to what end? What was I going to tell her? As the bell sounded, my feet seemed to acquire a will of their own, and they carried me to the door, then past the teacher and out into the hallway. Turned the corner at a run and stopped. What the hell am I doing? Why all this? The school had gone silent, frozen still, as though in awe of the inescapable might of pure knowledge. I was slowly tiptoeing through the empty hallways toward the principal's office. If I were to run into one of the teachers now, I'd have to explain myself all over again. On the other hand, it would be no better if I showed up at his office myself. Speaking of which, here it was. I pressed an ear to the door, but no sound was coming from the other side. They were either playing the silent game, or Catherine wasn't there. So what next? It was too late to go back to class. I wandered the empty hallways and didn't even notice I ended up in the old wing. Our school had been repeatedly rebuilt since it first opened its doors right after the war, with new buildings added on the old ones. With new buildings added on as the old ones fell into decay. Inefficient, if you ask me. Why not tear the old structure down and build a new one in its place? Theoretically, there shouldn't have been anyone in this wing, but suddenly I heard music. A guitar. The sound was coming from what? Judging by the plaque, the old music classroom. I opened the door a crack. Ha! It was none other than Kobayashi Ellie. She was the last person I expected to find here. She was doing a fine job playing, though. The tune was nice, and the execution was equally good. Music, at least, was one area that I knew a thing or two about. Ellie herself seemed to be glowing with happiness. Looked nothing like the prim princess I encountered at the principal's office this morning. Cool though this lyrical digression was, I certainly couldn't let the chance like this slip by. Well, well, who do we have here? Oh, it's like a full-on rock rendition of what she was playing. That's cool. The guitar went abruptly silent. My applause was the only sound interrupting the silence that had descended on the place. Oh, Yu-sama, I didn't know you played the guitar too. Many emotions flickered across her face. Embarrassment, surprise, annoyance, resentment. You! Please, pay no attention to me. What's going on? What are you doing here? I followed a beautiful siren song, but I could have never have imagined it would be you, Oju-sama. Enough! Ellie blurted out, stood up abruptly, and froze, as if not knowing what to do next. Hey, come on! Don't be upset. I just didn't realize you played the guitar. Somehow I wouldn't associate you with the instrument. Not the violin, maybe. I can play the violin too. She cut in. Really? Well, that's cool. And why aren't you in class? It's no mystery why I'm skipping. What about yourself? I'm not skipping. We have a break. Alright. I smirked. You don't have to make excuses with me. I'm not making excuses. You, on the other hand, should watch your behavior. What were you doing at the principal's this morning? I've dropped by for a cup of tea. In any case, that's none of your business. I wasn't trying to be rude, but that's exactly how it came out. Actually, it is my business, seeing as my grandfather I'm aware. She gave me a surprised look. What? Is it a secret? No, of course not. Even so, suddenly we heard voices in the hallway. Hide! Ellie whispered anxiously. Why? You're on a break and I'm used to it, I said sardonically, albeit in a lower voice. She didn't answer, but was looking at me pleadingly. She must have had her reasons. Oh, what do we do? What do we do? All in favor of hiding? Alright, fine, except I don't see where we could hide here. in there? Ellie grabbed my hand and dragged me into a small door which I had missed initially. The door opened into a cramped utility closet. What, here? I hesitated. The closet was definitely not roomy enough for two people. Oh my. Get in already! But Ellie clearly thought otherwise. Next thing I know, she shoved me inside and then stepped in herself. Great. We are now packed in like sardines. I mean, it doesn't look that cramped. And this place reeked. Yet, perceptible through the stench of dampness, moldiness, and dust was the sweet aroma of Ellie's perfume. Killer combination, to say the least. The classroom door opened and several people entered. I think I heard something. You must have misheard Kiyama-sensei. The principal was talking to one of the teachers. I'm not hearing things. I may be getting on in my years, but I'm still more than capable. Heavens no, Kiyama-sensei. I didn't mean anything of the sort. Anyhow, this ramshackle place should have been torn down long ago. A third voice joined in the conversation. This ramshackle place, as you called it, the principal let out a sigh so loud I could hear it clearly from the closet. I remember everything here as a young teacher. Right after the war, traded in my rifle for a pointer, you could say. Chalk taking the place of ammunition. Who would have guessed that a principal was so sentimental? Ellie suddenly fidgeted. Naturally, anyone would be uncomfortable hiding in a cramped closet with too little room for even one person. But was she uncomfortable with me in particular? I shifted my gaze to Ellie. Of course she was uncomfortable. But I desperately didn't want to have to be lectured by the principal again because of some ojusama. Would you be quiet? I hissed. She turned red like a boiled lobster, breathing, becoming rapid and regular. It was a really awkward situation. But it was for the both of us, and I was still trying to hang on. Just because Ellie played the guitar didn't necessarily mean she had experience in the area of... I didn't finish the thought. The girl's scent hit my nose with new strength, making my head spin. Though who was I to pass judgment on her experience? Yes, I dated Catherine, but I'd gotten somewhat used to her, whereas here was a completely different girl standing next to me. Not just next to, pressed right against me. My heart started beating faster. I swallowed. Ellie looked up at me with a frightened look in her eyes. What do you want from me? I slowly laughed. She didn't respond, just kept fidgeting, although her movements were now making the whole situation uncomfortable for me. I made a face that in my mind was supposed to mean quiet. She seemed to have understood. Meanwhile, the principal continued his oration. And after all that, you talk of this is our cultural heritage. It should be made into a museum. Certainly, Kiyama-sensei, but let's go now. We have a meeting coming up. Yes. I got a bit carried away. The moment the door closed behind them, Ellie came out flying out of the closet. I stepped out after her. I had to say something. It was a bit tight in there. She looked at me, dumbfounded. Tight? Tight? You pervert, you groped me all over. I didn't touch you at all. You groped me with your eyes then. You think I couldn't see it, feel it? Calm down already, will you? How can you grope someone with your eyes? And anyways, it was your idea to hide in there. Yes, but that's all there is to it. Ellie's expression turned dreary, and she lowered a gaze. I suppose it's unbefitting of a young woman to behave like this, isn't it? She smiled sadly. Oh, sorry. Well, I'm not the best person to give advice on these matters, but for what it's worth, I don't think there's anything wrong with playing the guitar. You must enjoy music a lot, no? Yes. This time her smile was more genuine. Then I don't see a problem. Just then, a distant bell announced it was break time. Alright, I gotta go. See you. Her final parting smile was utterly disarming. I was left standing alone in an empty music classroom, the empty old wing. What a strange girl. This whole musical interlude made me entirely forget the reason I had wound up here in the first place. I'd been looking for Catherine. I had absolutely no desire to go back to class, where I could expect another scolding. Simply skipping was bad enough, but I'd have to run out of the classroom right in front of the teacher. No thank you. I managed to slip out of the building unnoticed, and here I was, free as the wind, strolling down a sidewalk in one of Tokyo's central districts. I just wanted to chill out. This whole day had been a waste. The only thing I'd achieved was determining that Catherine had not written yesterday's note. The note. Unpleasant thoughts crept into my head. But if she didn't write it, who did? And what if it wasn't a prank? Just what was going on? More had happened to me in the past day and a half than over the course of the past year and a half. Ooh, almost spilled my coffee. That entire time, I hadn't really socialized with anyone. Except maybe Himitsu. Well, add that to Kyosuke and occasionally Michael. Now Catherine is back. And there was Kagome and Ellie. What next? Was I going to turn into a magical girl? As if by chance I ended up near a familiar bar. A couple rounds of beer were an absolute must right now. I'd relax, clear my head. The inside wasn't crowded, which made sense for this time of the day. People were supposed to be either at work or school. Like that in-joke about the 3-story building and the hurricane. Or like in that joke, I'm sorry. Even though I wasn't a stranger here, I always had a fake passport at the ready. A classmate whose father worked in law enforcement hooked me up at some point. There were lots of students at our school who had these passes to adult life. How could you prove it wasn't real? Document's a document, especially when some insolent snot is shoving it in your face. Not to mention the bar's owner was Russian. Chuckling, he usually told people that he used to be a pirate who was shipwrecked off the coast of Japan. Excuse me. That was a tall tale, of course. Most likely he was just a regular immigrant like my parents. I sat down at the counter and ordered a beer. Hey, Kolya, what's up? You're early today? Yeah, kind of worked out that way. You aren't going to get in trouble at the school, are you? You know how strict they are about these things here. I chuckled nervously. Okay, I see. None of my business. Good bartender is invariably a good psychologist. It's practically a qualification for the job. Beer at this place was served in pint-sized mugs, which made me very happy. Squealing with pleasure after downing a tiny glass in one gulp was not my thing. Beer at this place... no. Oh, yuck. I pushed the button. What was new? I took a long pull. Catherine's back. The bartender raised his eyebrows and asked with infeigned surprise, "And what are you gonna do now?" At times I wondered if showing empathy to customers was something more than just a professional skill for him. What can I do? She hasn't been over eager to talk, neither have I. At any rate, I'm certainly not going to throw myself at her. So, why is she back? Because of her mother's work, probably? She's gonna come by herself, right? Most likely not. So, I'm in this weird spot now. You know what they say, life is like a zebra. Black stripe followed by a white stripe and then black one again and then a white one again. I've never heard this saying before. Yep. And then the ass. We both laughed. I still haven't heard this saying before. You know what, Kolya? Don't get down, he said encouragingly. You still have a whole life ahead of you. 2 of you will make up 100 times over. If not, you'll find yourself another girl. Lots of them all over. The bartender spread his arms out, inviting apprehensive looks from the few schoolgirls nestled at the table from the furthest corner in the room. Thanks for the comforting words. There's so much else besides that anyway. Life is in full swing, and each swing hits you on the head. Jeez, did he keep a glossary of sayings under that counter? The bar door flew open and a group of young people entered. Having immediately recognized them, among them the punks from the day before, I instinctively buried my face in the mug. Was I scared? So it seemed. They sat down at the table and ordered beer and cocktails for the girls. You know them? The bartender asked quietly, leaning in toward me. I wouldn't say I know them, but we've met. I gave them the occasional sidelong glance. Wondered if I should get up and leave. Wouldn't that look cowardly, though? Then again, to who? They hadn't even noticed me. No sooner did I think that than one of the guys got up, walked over to the counter. Hey, I know you. If you say so. I said as calmly as possible, not even sparing him a glance. I don't think you know who you're dealing with, Gaijin. I'm not dealing with anyone. So, it wasn't you who punched my friend in the face yesterday? If it was me, he deserved it. Really? Then how about we step outside for a little chat? I looked at the bartender, but he only shrugged. Some empathy, damn it. Alright, let's step out. What else could I do? Oh, hello. Half a minute later, we were standing in an alley behind the bar. Oh, hey. A couple of the older guys, the early school kids. Where do they even come from? Not so tough now, are you? Said the one I punched yesterday. That'll teach him to stand up for whores. Compared to her, the girl was Mother Teresa. Well, what's next? Gonna beat me up? 4 against 1? That's impressive. What happened to your code of honor? Well, Yakuza have one. I sneered at the largest guy around me. You've definitely got the mugshot of a thug. The other guys clenched their teeth, their expressions hardened. What did you say? Let's get it over with already. A thought flashed in my mind. What if I struck first? That way I at least retain a smidgen of their self-respect. But I had no time to decide. Had a strong shove to the back through to the ground. That was low. Their blows hit hard, but they didn't go on for long. I curled up into a ball, covered my head in my arms. It hurt. Oh, excuse me. Starting to yawn a lot. By the time I recovered my sensors, the bastards vanished without a trace. I got up slowly and felt myself all over. Nothing was broken, it seemed. My face was mostly intact as well, except for a black eye. I returned to the bar and sat down in the same seat. I no longer felt like carrying a cordial conversation with the bartender. Although what could he have done? Stand at my side and fight? Call the police? Nonsense. Hey, there's... He pointed off with the side of his eyes. The side with his eyes. Turned my head, sitting on just a couple meters away was... Oh! Catherine. Well, hi. I guess. I said a little while later, after waiting for her to start the conversation. Bad chance of that happening. Hi. Catherine replied indifferently. I shifted to a closer seat while she ordered a cocktail for herself. What's with the face? Nothing serious. She wasn't buying it. I fell. Face first on the concrete several times in a row. Yeah, I got lucky, but I'll get it next time. Is that so? Said Catherine apathetically. So, are you skipping school? I had to start the conversation in the most neutral way possible. Also, she looked at me askance. I hope I said that right. Well, it's nothing new to me. I guess it isn't. I heard you went to the principal. Maybe I did. What of it? The tone of her voice didn't change, but her eyes flashed. Katya, I don't want to start everything up again. Then don't. I'm not... Or was I? Just put yourself in my shoes. How would you be reacting? Wouldn't you be asking the same questions? What questions? Fine. I understand you're here because of your mother's work or this particular school. Why? What? Am I getting in your way? Catherine was sipping her cocktail with an expression of absolute indifference. No, of course not. It's just when I think about how we parted back then. That's all in the past. You don't really think I would have chosen a different school or changed my life in any way because of you, do you? Why would I do that? Simply to avoid running into you again. That's not what I was thinking. She was right, actually. I had no comeback. But she was right only if she really didn't feel anything towards me now. Everything pointed to that being the case. But I just couldn't believe, didn't want to believe, that she could be so cruel. So, everything's alright? Of course. Then we can remain friends? A barely perceptible smirk appeared on Catherine's face. Do you want us to? Why not? Past is in the past. You have to move on, go on living. You sound like someone with PTSD. That's when I started to get worked up. It's all in the past for me as well, if that's what you mean. Is it? Good. Great. Turned away, pretending to study the menu. Was I supposed to get up and leave? That would be it. I'd have to forget all about her for certain. Damn it. Was I really hoping for something? Each time, Catherine hurt me more and more, but like a mindless gnat, I kept slamming into the window. As if I was trying to prove something to someone. In the course of this year and a half, I had become so accustomed with living with the memories of her that now, when she was so close, I simply couldn't let go of her. These memories seem like my only hope. The only thing holding me back from doing something foolish and fatal. Was I thinking of something specific? Unlikely. But I was hoping, naturally. I see you're not wasting any time. Catherine gave me a surprised look. Nothing was worse than indifference. Better if she got mad at me. I snatched the cocktail out of her hands and said snidely, "Getting an early start, are we?" As I raised the glass to my mouth, I heard Catherine's indifferent voice somewhere in the background. It's non-alcoholic. It really was. Sorry. I set the glass back down on the counter. You, on the other hand, have kept to your habits, I see. What do you mean? Her eyes shot over to the empty beer mug, which I had tried to move as far away as possible. God damn it, bartender. It's been a rough day. Yeah? How so? Are you really interested? Just keeping up the conversation. Or would you rather that I ignored you? I sighed and answered. I was called into the principal's office. Yep, same as always. Skipping school. Well, you know me. And there's also a curious episode with a certain Oji-sama. Your new girlfriend? Are you mocking me? No, just keeping up the conversation, I told you. If I'm disturbing you, I can leave. I don't have a girlfriend. Nor have I ever... I added in a half whisper. I see. And how's Himitsu doing? If you're so interested, you could visit her and ask. I don't believe you had a falling out with her. Maybe I will go see her. Catherine responded vaguely and glanced toward the entrance. Was she about to leave? Something stung on the inside and I wanted her to stay. Even if she was going to mock me. Himitsu's fine. I didn't even know what else to tell you. Same as always, basically. Same as always, is she? She drawled. Are you surprised that someone can actually treat me normally? Of course not. I'm happy for Himitsu. And I'll definitely visit her when I get the chance, but now I need to go. She set the unfinished cocktail down on the counter and stood up. Alright. See you at school. Catherine nodded and left the bar. Dang, bro, you took a beating. Don't even start. How about a drink on the house? Did he want to make it up to me? No, thanks. I think I had enough for today. I left the bar and stretched. As expected, the bruises ached. The past couple of days, my life resembled some dumb manga from Kyosuke's collection that my encounters with Catherine are like a soap opera. A viscous, sticky, dark brew with a beginning but no end. How long was this going to go on? In less than a year, I was going to graduate. And then what? My dad's savings weren't going to last long. I would need to get a job. Thoughts of higher education didn't even cross my mind. But what skills did I possess? You are totally a NEET! Are you kidding me? Did I want to toil interminably, day after day, like the Japanese? Did you even know that there's a special word in Japanese that means death from overwork? Questions. It was getting late. I've been wandering aimlessly around the city for a number of hours, occasionally stepping inside stores or just window shopping. I was killing time, yet another day of my life. It was completely dark by the time I arrived at my house. The lights were on inside. I immediately remembered yesterday's note, and a light shiver ran down my spine. Nah, that's ridiculous. An assassin waiting for a victim inside their house? With the lights on? Still, logical or not, someone was obviously inside. I carefully opened the door and saw women's shoes in the hallway. Mitsu. I should have guessed right away. Who else had any need of me? Hi, I said nonchalantly, entering the kitchen. Mitsu was sitting at a set table. She had apparently been waiting for some time. Nico, where have you been? I was worried. If a moment ago I might have been glad to see her, all that was out the window now. Not another interrogation. Oh, what happened to you? She jumped from her chair and when she noticed my black eye. Yeah, nothing serious. Ran into some robbers, made short work of them, but one got me in the eye. Stop talking nonsense. It's not nonsense. You want to see the police report? She pouted but calmed down, having probably realized that I was fine. I asked Kyosuke and he said you weren't there for the last few classes. I wasn't. What of it? I snapped back. Nothing. It's just so much has happened lately that I was worried. Why would you worry about me? Did you think I was gonna go drown myself? No, I didn't. Nothing much has happened anyway. I was about to add, at least not to you, but stopped myself at the last second. After all, Mitsu had done nothing wrong. Meanwhile, she was looking at me expectantly. I had to tell her something. I debated whether I should mention Catherine. It's not like it's a secret or anything, right? We didn't do anything objectionable. Still, maybe Mitsu didn't need to know about this. I have no idea. I guess probably stick with being honest, especially to Mitsu. All in favor? Where's my mouse? There we go. I was with Katya. Really, now why was I feeling all embarrassed about this? Like an 8th grader on his first date. Really? Cool. And how's Catty-chan? Mitsu replied without skipping a beat, as if reading from a script. I suppose she's fine, but you know how she is sometimes. You have to drag every word out of her. Mitsu smiled. Alright, well, sit down and eat. Dinner's cold, of course, but you only have yourself to blame. Oh, excuse me, coffee burp. I was, in fact, hungry as hell. We ate dinner in silence, without talking, without the TV, without even looking at each other. You could almost feel the charge of tension in the air. It was one thing for me to stay silent, but why was Mitsu keeping quiet? Just because I told her about Catherine? After so many years, Mitsu had come to know me very well, so she knew that there were times where it was better to remain silent, and there were times when it was better to do the opposite. So, what was she hoping to achieve now? She knew I wasn't a fan of small talk, but the silence was becoming unbearable. How was school? Fine. That's it? Just fine? Nothing happened to Saya? No. Why do you ask? I sat down chopsticks and leaned back in my chair. Probably because you've been quiet this entire dinner? I'm not quiet. I mean, not on purpose. Mitsu got flustered. What is it? She was obviously working up the courage to continue. These sorts of conversations have always been difficult for her. Because I was worried. Did she even check the time? You could have called at least. Called where? Here. She replied in a faltering voice. How was I supposed to know you'd be here? We aren't living together last I checked. Maybe we should, she mumbled softly. I pretended not to hear it. The conversation had clearly taken a wrong turn. Alright, you know what? I'm really tired today. You head home and I'll do the dishes. But I'll see you tomorrow. Mitsu hung her head and stood up from the table. Good night. When the door closed behind her, I breathed a sigh of relief. Right now, I absolutely needed some alone time. I felt as though trapped between two fires, or even 3 or 4. A veritable ring of fire that was slowly but surely closing in on me. And how was I acting? Sluggishly and indifferently, like a decrepit old man who had long stopped caring about his life. On one hand, there was Catherine, who I simply couldn't put out of my mind. On the other, there was Mitsu, who clearly wasn't happy to see Catherine's back. And then there was a note. New acquaintances, non-existent plans for the future itself, shrouded in a thick haze of uncertainty. I stretched out in bed and remembered Ellie. Even if the closet episode felt like it had been ripped straight out of some tacky manga, it's still been a pleasant one. What if Ellie could help with the note somehow? No doubt she had good connections. As for Mitsu and Catherine, come what may, maybe things would resolve themselves. With these thoughts, I fell asleep. I was woken up by the telephone. What time was it? It cost me some pains to make it to the phone. Hello? I sounded terribly groggy. Nikolai, you are in great danger. You need to be extremely careful. A voice said in Russian. I was still half asleep, so I couldn't really understand what was going on. What? Who is this? I repeat, to be extremely careful. Pay particular attention to what you're doing, who you talk to, and what you talk about. The voice sounded unnatural, as though the speaker had pressed a cloth against the receiver. Who is this? What do you want? Was it you who left the note? You've been warned. Who are you? One of your fans. No, different game. Now I was really scared. Should I call the police? What would I say? Ordinary school kid, no interest to anyone, a note, a telephone call. It all added up to a prank. But the first thing I did was lock all the doors and unplug the phone. It could be a prank, but then who was the prankster? Michael wouldn't do it. And Kyosuke wouldn't even cross his mind. And why did this all start just as Catherine returned to Japan? Even if she didn't write the note. Oh wait. I pulled the blanket over my head. Sleep refused to come, but the fear eventually subsided a bit. I told myself I would try to sort all this out tomorrow with a fresher head. Okay. It's gonna be the next day. We'll go ahead and stop here, and we'll pick this up again next week. We save first. There we go. So yeah, we'll pick this up again. Actually, hang on. Is there anything on this? Because I know it did have plans to do Project Wingman. Is it? No, that's the 24th. So we can technically we could. I want to at least do Project Wingman once this week. So, let's say we do that tomorrow. We do Project Wingman on Wednesday. And then we see whether we should do more of Dead Space 3, Love, Money, and Rock and Roll, or more Project Wingman on Friday. Does that sound good? I mean, I could always just like spin for it. I don't know. We'll figure something out. But yeah, I think I'll probably do Project Wingman tomorrow. But we'll see where that takes us. I do intend on continuing some of this. Yes, I do. It does drag out a little bit. I'm doing a lot of reading. It's not the most riveting gameplay, but I am quite intrigued with the stories so far, especially with the interesting thing about my life being in danger. But yeah, we'll do more of this next time or next chance we get. But yeah, they are. Good thing is I do have tea and I do have honey, so I should prepare that next time. But anyways, yeah, Project Wingman will be tomorrow, and we'll figure out what to do next for the following Friday. So that'll be the plan for the rest of the week. And that, not really much change. I think the first game will probably be finishing at the rate that I'm going through Project Wingman, just like 2, maybe 3 missions at a time. I'll probably end up finishing Dead Space 3 first. So once that's done, most likely we're going to be moving on toward Metroid Prime Remastered. I still need to get that. I think that comes out next week. But yeah, something to look forward to. Anyways, links down below will take you. The first one will take you to the Lazy League Discord, our group of streamers there. There you can be able to find the rest of us, such as Oh Hey Mike K, the Batgwin, Gumdolph, along with many others in our circles, such as Rainarchy, Shadow Knight, 98 Tough Love, Warwick Zero, Rachel Anita, C Plus Content, and many others in our circle. Come hang out with us. Come be lazy with us. It's always a good time. The second link will take you to the sister site for this channel. There you can be able to find more info and other upcoming streams that I have planned, along with my archive of all my past streams. And if you got any questions, comments, or concerns that you would like me to know about, or any suggestions that you might have for me for future Let's Plays or Retro Nights, head on over to the contact page and shoot them out. It'll be over there. Also, scroll down below or off to the side, depending which platform you're watching from, to catch many other streamers that I personally like to watch and follow. Check them all out whenever you can. They're all great. And again, thank you for joining me tonight for this first session of Love, Money, and Rock and Roll. Let's see where this takes us. You got a favorite yet? Because I sure as hell don't. I think it'll probably take me another session before I figure out which one I want to try and pursue. But we'll find out. Anyways, yeah, tomorrow, more Project Wingman. So I'll see you then. Take care. Love and hype. Life is good. Good night, everyone. Can't have a favorite or they die. Who knows? It might end up being a bad ending. Let's hope not.